I'm not touching you. I can yell all I want. You have a microphone. I'm a voice. I can yell.
Yeah, but we have our thing.
Counter-protests are allowed to be counter-protests.
Stop!
Get in the car.
Stop!
Look in with his gun. Who brings guns
Are
to a
you
protest?
threatening him?
You didn't say it. You said I could come back. Come on.
If you have faith in science, it might be hard to understand why people would gather like this while a deadly virus ravages America. Similar protests are happening across the country. Some people are here because of genuine fears about job losses and economic recession. Others are also here to push views on perennial American issues, always ready to voice their distrust in authority, disregarding the medical experts.
If asymptomatic people go back to work, they could infect other people who could die.
Okay, that's an interesting hypothesis.
It's a fact.
Yeah, sure it is.
You don't believe that? That's science. That's indisputable.
That's interesting. If they're asymptomatic, how do they know that they have it or don't have it?
Well, they don't. That's the point.
So it's mysterious. So it's just this thing that they're saying.
So what, is this all a big conspiracy theory?
It's your conspiracy theory.
And now for more details on these developments within the U.S., Jagrati Dave is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us, Jagrati. Now, the U.S. has just recorded its deadliest day when it comes to the virus. So how prepared really is the Trump administration to tackle this virus as it hopes to, in fact, reopen the economy in phases?
California Governor Newsom has just passed along some disturbing news out of the Golden State. In the last 24 hours, apparently it proved to be the deadliest day of the coronavirus outbreak.
Controversy erupts as a mom is arrested in a playground closed due to the pandemic.
Officer, you don't want to do that.
The arrest of a Meridian woman has sparked backlash. I feel like I was singled out because I was the only person that was arrested.
The incident happened at a park in Meridian, Idaho, where anti-lockdown parents reportedly sent out this plea on social media. There are a bunch of us taking our kids to the park to tear the tape off the playground. Let's take a stand.
Police say they went to the playground after receiving several calls about what was taking place. They say when they got there, caution tape and metal signs stating that the playground was closed had been removed, and they repeatedly informed everyone it was time to clear out.
What grounds?
I just told you. We can close it
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You don't need to talk to me rude. I'm just a mom with my kids.
Then things come to a head.
You have 5 seconds. 3.
Arrest me for being in the park. Do it. Record it.
Okay, this is not... Officer, you don't want to do that.
As the mom is led away, others protest.
He is arresting her for being on a public playground.
In a statement, cops say mom of 2, Sarah Brady, was charged with trespassing after failing to adhere to the rules in these very trying times.
She was asked to disperse the area and failed to do so on numerous occasions.
Her arrest triggered protests outside City Hall.
And a tribute to a life gone too soon. A procession of fire trucks, no sirens, just flashing lights, passes by the home of 5-year-old Skylar Herbert, the youngest COVID-19 victim in Michigan. Her mother is a police officer, her father a firefighter. His fellow firefighters showing their support in a time of unimaginable loss. Some governors today are bending to the pressure to reopen. In Florida, some beaches are now open and they were packed this weekend. Dr. Anthony Fauci today warned not so fast.
If you jump the gun and go into a situation where you have a big spike, you're going to set yourself back.
Tonight, as the world's health experts warn, a second wave of the coronavirus is very likely in the fall and winter. President Trump is downplaying those risks.
Now, if we have pockets, a little pocket here, then we're going to have it put out. It goes out, and it's going to go out fast. We're going to be watching for it. But it's all possible. It's also possible it doesn't come back at all.
But the nation's top health experts say that's unlikely.
We will have coronavirus in the fall. I am convinced of that.
A CBS News poll finds if stay-at-home orders were lifted, 48% say they would not return to public places until the outbreak is over.
Well, we had an experiment in Wisconsin with the election, right, where that in-person election went forward. And there's now a report that there have been 7 cases of coronavirus directly tied to people who voted on that day. So that's an experiment that didn't show much success in terms of preventing the spread of the virus.
Protesters Tuesday morning gathered in downtown Dallas calling for businesses to reopen. Stay-at-home orders are expected to stay in place until at least April 30th, but they could be extended if needed.
Time for our state to be opened up. We're tired of not being able to buy the things that we need, go to the hairdressers, get our hair done. It's time to open up.
Who's ready to stand defiant against this governor and open up business tomorrow?
Lock her up! 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 Lock her up!
As the name of the protest implies, the protest was designed to cause traffic jams, and they succeeded. Those stuck in traffic included hospital workers trying to get to work in a hard-hit state in the middle of a pandemic, and for one of them, it just proved too much.
People, I have something to say. I work for Sparrow Hospital. How can I do my job if y'all idiots are blocking up the ways to get to the hospital? There are people dying every minute. And you guys, Trump supporters, want to block up everything and don't care about nobody else. What if it was your mother? What if it was your father? What if your infant son or daughter gets sick?
They're praying to beat the odds. New Jersey's care homes are a dangerous place to be. 29 people, a third of residents, have died in this one over the last 3 weeks, and many of those still alive are now sick. The home closed ranks and shut the relatives out. An hour north, at another care home in New Jersey, the police received an anonymous tip-off telling them that the dead were being put in a shed. They found 17 bodies crammed into a small morgue on site. It is a desperate situation.
USA! You can't close America! You can't close America! America will reopen! Texas is leading the way! Open Texas now! Open Texas now! Open Texas now! Let us work! Let us work! Let us work! Let us work! No more tyranny! No more tyranny! No more tyranny!
Day after day, we're seeing back-to-work protests breaking out, some larger than others, many echoing the words of the president who has egged them on, even as they violate the administration's own social distancing guidelines.
These are great people.
My body, my choice! Open Ohio now! Open Ohio now!
I'm protesting infringements on freedom of religion, a lot of our rights that have just been compromised by the stay-at-home order.
I believe that the government doesn't really understand what is an essential job. Every job that, puts food on the table is an essential job.
Does it remind you of something? It reminds you of this, right? One's a swab, one's a Q-tip. It's actually different. It's very sophisticated, actually, but it's a little bit like, so this is the swab. And We've ordered a lot of them. They have a lot of them. Some of them, some of the states, they were shipped to states and the states don't know where they are.
At this point, the daily briefings given by President Donald Trump have become somewhat repetitive and increasingly political. He's blamed states' governors for a shortage in testing, talked about the thousands of ventilators being made, and weighed in urging certain states to be liberated. The death toll here is now by far the highest in the world, and for many, this crisis is far from over.
I'm absolutely fed up with the fact that our government thinks they can suspend our rights in violation of the Constitution.
It's been a mass gravesite in New York for 150 years. More than 1 million people are buried here, including victims of the 1918 flu pandemic. The city is once again leaning on Hart Island as it battles the coronavirus outbreak. They can be exhumed and relocated later at a family member's request. The firm's president says the current situation is unprecedented.
Everything you utilize, in funerals is in short supply now because it's just not, there isn't enough. We're going to do, 2 years of funerals in 2 months.
A number of temporary morgues have been set up at the city's hospitals to stretch capacity. Some funeral homes are doing the same.
This container behind me can hold around 30 bodies. It's a small amount compared to the ever-rising death toll, but funeral directors say they're doing what they can to help as many families as possible.
Crematories are also cleared to burn around the clock.
These are not normal situations where sometimes there need to be extra accommodations to benefit the whole. These are temporary. Allowing crematories to operate during a longer period of time is just something we need to do right now.
There are 48 bodies in the basement of this Harlem, New York funeral home. 40 are in cardboard boxes ready for cremation, the other 8 in a refrigerator embalmed and ready to be buried. It will be weeks or months before they reach their final resting places, with New York City's crematories and cemeteries completely overrun.
This past month has been completely chaotic. Since this whole pandemic took place, we've been working nonstop, overnight, mornings.
With New York the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak in the U.S., and with African Americans and Hispanics dying at a disproportionate rate, International Funeral and Cremation Services has had to turn some families away.
I am sorry, deeply sorry.
The women often collect the deceased from refrigerated trailers that have cropped up outside of hospitals that don't have the capacity to keep them in their facilities. Funeral director Nicole Waring explains.
I really started getting more overwhelmed going into the trailers. They're telling you go in and find your decedent. and they're just scattered. You have some on the floors, you have some on shelves. It's tough.
She says it can even be scary going into her funeral home's own prep room, as some who died of COVID-19 may not be marked as such, and as it is unclear whether the deceased bodies are still contagious. Fellow funeral director Jenny Adames says the women look out for each other. She reminds them, as much as they can stick to it, to quote, "Limit your compassion, please, because we gotta move on to the next one. There's no time to stop."
Mark would pay me for this?
Oh yeah. Can we see your ID?
I was like,
Can we see your ID?
why would I give you my ID?
Why
I don't
not?
need to give you your ID.
I'll show you my ID.
What does it matter?
I'm
not the one that's like,
unless you have
needs to
something to
prove it.
hide.
You're
fake. You're fake.
How many patients do you guys have in your hospital?
Zero.
Zero.
Dude, you're a neurological hospital.
There's no COVID there. Tell that all to our nurse friends right now. Tell us what you think. This is fine.
There's zero.
Yeah, you can have.
Look at the violation, and they're lying that they're in the medical industry and setting bad examples.
It's not that real. Yeah, they're actors.
Everybody is dying every single day of their life, and they don't put that on the news.
They're exaggerating.
They're exaggerating the virus.
Stop spreading fake news. Stop spreading the lies.
I don't want you in our
Lauren Leander, along with a few other Valley nurses, stood in silence Monday during a rally to reopen Arizona at the state capitol. The noise was deafening. Leander is a critical care nurse at one of the COVID-19 units at Banner Health. She said she wanted to represent those who need protection. Be a voice for our patients and the immunocompromised and those of the people that are sick with COVID that would be out there fighting with us if they could, just asking people to follow the stay-at-home rules. Several different groups of people rallied, saying the economy has suffered enough and that Governor Doug Ducey's stay-at-home order should be lifted immediately.
Open Arizona now.
That order is in place until the end of April, and it's unclear what will happen come May 1st. I think it speaks to a lot of misinformation. I think it speaks to a lot of fear. Leander said she heard vile and heartbreaking things from people protesting.
You're a virus.
Still, she's got a message for them. Doesn't matter if you believe in the virus or not, I'm going to take care of you one way or the other. And so it was just sad to see people throw insults that, number one, didn't make sense, and number two, just don't align with us as healthcare workers. Since the rally, she's heard from people all over the world supporting her and other healthcare workers. I feel proud because it's not just me, it's me and it's my doctors and it's all the healthcare workers that would have been out there with me if we could have had time to rally a bigger group together. Health experts have said time and time again that stay-at-home orders are necessary to stop the spread of COVID-19.